Hello and welcome to another edition of The One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
I'm Kyle.
And we are back from Denver.
We are. We literally got off the plane about an hour ago, and first thing we decided to do was record an all-new episode. So on today's show, we are going to talk first and foremost about the Union's 2-1 victory over the Colorado Rapids. And then we'll do a little bit of trip review and just talk about the fun time we had out there in Colorado. And then the Union have a busy week ahead of them.
They do.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into that a little bit, talk about some things, and then maybe end the show, maybe do a little fashion segment about the new warm-up top that was released today. Maybe a fun other notes. So before we get started, what are you wearing today?
I am wearing a tank top I got at the stadium. White tank top here. That is a tie back, and I've had this for a few years, and it's pretty warm out today, much warmer than it was in Denver when we were there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gorgeous day today.
It is.
Back here in PA. So, yeah, I decided to go with this. And what about you?
I am wearing the Larimer dupe shirt that you can get at the brewery. It comes in dark and light blue, I believe. And just has their logo and it has a dupe on it. And it was a nice shirt just to wear on the flight home, and I didn't get a chance to change yet. So
I definitely didn't wear this on the plane. I was wearing my black long sleeve Union shirt. What's the brand of that? The Wild Collective, I think, is the brand. It's all black with like the black logo and the thing down the sleeve. So they still currently have those in the team store, but it was a little warm for me to to still be wearing that. So it changed.
So yeah, so we got a big episode here planned, lots to discuss. So strap in, and before we get started, make sure you follow us on Twitter at theoneteamweagreeon, and then on Facebook and Instagram at The One Team We Agree On, all one word. And then again, we are available on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. So make sure to follow along. We'd love to hear from you. So comment, let us know how we're doing. And if you like the show, give us a like on YouTube and subscribe. We love that. So
we do.
Let's talk first about the game on Saturday. Initial thoughts before we get into the actual game. Initial thoughts on the Dick's Sporting Goods Park.
Well, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
First of all. So that was different than, say, the Phillies game, which we'll talk about later, where that's right in the city. Small stadium, comparable to Subaru Park in terms of seating.
Right.
Definitely a different design, though, for that. And, what I liked was that, you could walk around the stadium and see the field pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, no, there was no block views. I like that too. I mean, and it wasn't like with the river end where you have to you can't walk through the river end because of the divide.
Right.
The locker rooms.
You could actually walk the entire way around the stadium.
And so, and even when you're getting food at the concourse or wherever, just sitting there walking around, you could see what was going on the field.
Right. There were a bunch of people that they had tables up kind of right behind where we were sitting, kind of like how they do at the Phillies games, and I've seen it some other places too, where you can kind of be up top and have your food or whatever you're doing and still see the game up there.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different atmosphere from that regard. Couple things I liked. First, I thought it was interesting that they had free parking. Like they have this huge lot. When you pull in, there's like a lot to the one side, it's kind of unpaved, and then there's the other side, which was a lot of fans parked on as well. And that was paved, and it was just like, because when we got there, it said supporters of the away team park in double B parking area, and we had a little map, and we parked there, and it was interesting because as big as that lot was, it wasn't really full when we got there. Now
we were there pretty early though.
We got there almost 2 hours before game time. So I thought that was actually really nice that they have
all free parking.
All free parking. And you know, the other area, I mean, around there, I would say one thing, even though it was like, I think by the time we parked and we got up there and we kind of walked around, and I'll post some of the video, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Like, you know,
not like how we have the plaza with
the plaza, or even when we were at Red Bulls last week, they had all the little games, soccer games going on, and just
little,
festivities
like,
and vendor. There really wasn't much going on, even that early in the game. People were just kind of waiting to get in or just walking around chatting. We did see their supporters group have their tailgate. They had a live band. And it seemed like they were having a good time. So we were kind of just watching from afar with that, and then just checking out the outside of the plaza. I mean, it's pretty simplistic, and they had a little picnic area. Looked like for like events going on. It wasn't really busy, but
some people taking their prom photos there.
Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, not much going on there. And the other thing was they kept announcing it was superhero night or something like that.
It was superhero night, and I did see some people dressed like superheroes, but they were also honoring like first responders, you know, in the vein of being superheroes, which was cool. They had some people from various, you know, first responder type organizations there.
But outside of just like, I think we saw like, I think there was like a first responder truck that people could do. There was
like one little tent with a thing you could spin, you know, wheel you could spin for prizes or something, but other than that I didn't really see anything.
It wasn't like when the union do like kids night, it's a big to do, like when
we have all the different stands there.
And yeah, there just wasn't much there, so I felt like that was kind of a miss. But yeah, I thought the food selection was good.
It was good. I mean, pretty much your standard stuff.
Fare.
I ended up getting chicken tenders and fries, and I had an IPA. I got a local IPA because I'm always out for the local stuff. So I mean, it was, you know, your standard stuff. They had biker gyms, which they also had at the Rockies Phillies game.
But they didn't run out of sausage, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, I mean, they had their hot dogs and sausages and stuff for that, their specialty stuff.
So I thought that was nice, and then we met up with Todd and Shelby Lewis, and we went in. Todd and I were up in the press box. You and Shelby went down with the supporters group, but and we'll get to that. But you know, when we got in there, I mean, again, it's approximately, I think, a little over 18,000. I think the total attendance was 15,000. You know, one of the things I thought was interesting, and I was talking to another guy up there during the game, was they had that one area where, you know, the teams marched down at the beginning of the game. So it's interesting, like the Union came on the left side, Colorado came on the right side when we were looking down the press box, and then they walked down those stairs.
Yeah, so
pitch. It's kind of like river end. It's kind of like a river end. They come through the goal side.
They don't have any seating on the scoreboard side, basically.
No.
You got the scoreboard, and then you have basically the locker rooms and like some special areas and everything on that. But and fans there's a walkway for fans to walk around.
And so that was interesting. A lot of fans were standing out there. And then when you walk down the steps, there's like this construction going on, and there's apparently they're building a party deck there. So that'll be kind of cool when teams eventually walk down.
And Shelby and I stood there and we yelled down to Joe Bendick.
Yeah.
Like, let's go, Joe. And he waved back. So
yeah,
that was before it got too crowded in there, but yeah.
So just some things in regards to the game. The player and introductions were different because that was the first time we heard them announce the bench players.
They announced we were so confused, and then they not only did they announce the bench players, but they were using like the full given name pretty much, because like, we heard Nathaniel Harriel and James Curtin eventually when they announced
James Curtin. So I found it funny they were announced because like they posted both the lineups and they had him up there in the press room, and then like they're announcing them. I turned to Todd and I go, are they announcing the starting lineups? Did we miss something? And then,
we were so good. And then they eventually announced the rest, and then we had Olivier, and we're all like, Bizo, in our crowd, I mean, I get it. It's hard to, but usually I thought they do their homework kind of on that.
No,
I mean, we never hear, you know, you never hear at our stadium that, the mispronouncing.
right. And I thought the other interesting thing was that as they were walking down, we do the fireworks as well. They
Mm-hmm.
really laid into fireworks. Maybe it's because
Mm-hmm.
of superheroes and or what, but really good. The supporters group down there was getting it going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
they're pretty decent.
it was a good energy environment. I
Yeah.
was actually, it packed in real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I thought like just the pregame atmosphere, outside of it just being small and like nothing really stood out. I mean, once the game and the pregame introductions got going, I thought it was fun.
Yeah. So, and we're walking around a bit, and we kept seeing Union fans because we had no idea how many were going to actually be there. And so we're like, because we're joking, we're like, oh, yeah, there'll probably be like 10 of us or something.
Yeah,
And really, I would say there was easily at least 30. I would
nice.
say like 30 to 40 Union fans,
I mean,
maybe,
we were
for
more
what it
than
was.
halfway up that little supporter side,
Yeah.
I would
So
say.
we were in the corner. Um, and of course, if you've seen you know, the videos of the goals being scored and they showed, our supporter section, you can see, what we had there. And you can see Shelby and me right in the middle of that. Find us on there. They zoomed in on there. It was kind of funny. Because we're in the middle of the game. We heard someone say, oh yeah, they keep seeing us on Apple TV. It's like, well, I'll have to see that then. But yeah, sure enough. And yeah, we had a pretty good size group there. And of course, everyone's in great spirits and high-fiving and like go Union every time we saw people in there.
Yeah.
And, there were definitely people that flew out from the Philly area. And then there were some people that were from closer to around there. One guy said he lived, I think, an hour and a half away and
Yeah.
drove down and said he was going to the San Jose game, I think, too. Or he was going to some different things that were going to be out that way. So that was good. And yeah, definitely a couple people that we recognize, but mostly people we didn't. So,
Yeah. So about with the game, so when they announced the lineup, no Jose Martinez. I guess the surprise one was no Mikel Ua.
mhm,
When we were down there with Jim post game, just Todd and
mhm,
I,
mhm,
basically what it sounds like was Mikel during had some fluid, was drained
mhm.
prior to miss he played with it and then was drained and he had some setbacks, so they were just resting him, hoping to get him back with these two big games coming up this week. Jose, he's hopeful, but yeah, so the Union rolled out a different lineup, three in the back, finally
Yeah.
for the second time this year. And it was Glessness, Elliott, and Lowe.
I was like, all right, all right.
Yeah, no, I was actually excited to see this. And they put Gazdag back up top. Kind of signs to 2011 when he was partnered with Casper. So
Hmm.
that was interesting.
My one thing was like, I was like, no bueno.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, Jesus Bueno. I figured he'd probably get in later, and as we know, he did.
Mm,
Um,
which we'll get to.
yeah,
But I thought it was interesting. And then Jim alluded to it again at the presser, that this could be a formation that they try on the road. I found it interesting though. He was like, "Well, when you really look at it, we were still playing a variation of the diamond." Like he was
hmm,
explaining how the tactical formations were. I found that interesting. The one thing though early on, and Todd pointed this out to me, and especially saw it on the right side with Ale and Olivier, was at times they were still kind of getting switched up where one was trying to make a run and then Ale should have been more inside or vice versa. And just the runs, you could see they were still trying to figure out. Same with, the three pairs in the back. So when kickoff got going, I mean, it was interesting because you definitely tell early on, especially. I think was it Lowe went out with the concussion check, and they had that play where Bizo kind of fell asleep. Jack gets beat. They had that shot. Thankfully, Blake makes that great save, and
yeah,
you're just like, "Oh no, here we go again." I'm sitting up there in the
yeah.
press box thinking, oh no, that's not good. And Colorado came out. But then credit, they kind of settled into the formation, started figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the first couple, 20, 25, 30 minutes before the PK? What did you think of the Union front first kind of 30 minutes of the game?
I mean, I thought we did okay.
Yeah.
Again, feeling out the new formation a little bit. And I mean, I was actually
Well, not
excited.
new. I mean, we played it right against
I mean,
Cincinnati, but with all the pieces were
right.
different.
It was a
So
little different. I thought we really had decent energy at the beginning there.
yeah, we did.
It was all right. I will say from my point of view too, where we were trying to bring the energy with our little group there.
Right.
And credit to some of the people down. We were kind of in the middle of the section, lower middle of it, and then there were a few people in front of us, and we were standing. Some of the people in front of us were standing. Most of them were, and then there were people behind us, bunch that were sitting, and we're trying our darndest to get people going on these chants. It's not like they were complicated either,
No.
but we were trying, and then we would just organically start them. Shelby or I, both of us, we'd be like, all right, let's do this one. And we just start going. So it was kind of because people right behind me were just seated the whole time. And
Right.
well, it is what I mean. People are welcome to sit, but it's a bummer that more people didn't get up and cheer, but we did our best. Yeah.
No. From my perspective, I thought, at least as we started settling in, we started creating chances. There was probably like a 10, 15-minute run. We were down there and
We were
a
getting some
lot,
chances.
and we were getting a lot of corners. I mean,
We
that was
were.
one thing. We were finally getting some corners. We had that series where we had a nice corner in, ball goes in net. Somehow it gets waved off. They redo it, and then there's a foul. Then that kind of counters back. They come back, and then we come back down. Julian has a wide open net, and he just blows it. And we're just like, okay, here we go. And so once again, the Union were creating some really nice chances early on, but again, we can't hit the bar outside of the building. And I think at the end of the night, I forget. I gotta look back at the starts, but I forgot to pull it up. But yeah, we weren't hitting the target real well. That was one thing I did notice. We just weren't finishing. And then they come down the field again, another defensive breakdown, and here we go again. Ball's bouncing around. Lowe comes in to try to get the ball out, makes a foul. It's right on the line. Initially, I thought that he was just over the line, and then but it was so close. I'm like, they're gonna go VAR, and sure enough, they go VAR, and Todd and I are standing there watching the screen. I'm just like, he's outside the box. And then this one angle came in. I'm like, ooh, he's right inside the box. And then, sure enough, comes in, points the spot, and it's like, nope, that's PK.
Well, from our vantage point, we had a really good vantage point of what happened as well. And when I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I thought, honestly, like right from the get-go that, yeah, that's going to be PK. That's inside the box. Although I thought it was really soft too. But
it was fun.
Initially, I was actually surprised that at first they weren't making it a PK. And then they're setting up for kicking right outside. And then some people are behind us were like, oh yeah, go to VAR, blah, blah. And the guys in front of us were like, no, we don't want it to go to VAR because they're probably going to call it PK.
Yeah.
And I'm like, exactly. And sure enough, that's what happened. So, and shout out to the guy in front of me too. I did not catch his name, but he was great. And he was holding up makeshift cards later on.
Right.
Yeah, when there should be a card given out and everything. But yeah, that was an unfortunate way to start, but thankfully the PK did not take us out of it.
No, I
We fought
mean,
right back.
so they call it Ronan steps in. And honestly, Blake read well, but that was an excellent PK. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my gosh. But we saw some comments, people saying, what's going on with Andre Blake? He's not what he was, with PKs. So my credit is, what is going on with Andre? Yeah. So my question is, what is going on with Andre? Is it another PTSD from the cup, PKs? We saw it in the Open Cup and the MLS Cup, wasn't making the greatest save, but
Okay.
Or is it just really, it's a PK?
Can we be honest? PKs are hard to block.
It's a crapshoot.
It really, they're hard to defend.
It's interesting. So Todd's pointing out, like, Phil wasn't the goalkeeper coach. He's over there pointing out, to Andre, and I'm watching those two communicating. So he's relaying the information into Andre. Andre knows where it is. Andre reads it right. Just was put well. And so at the end of the day, that's what I'm thinking,
Do you think he has, a mental block going on? I don't know.
I mean, if he had a mental block, he wouldn't be making the saves that he
makes really good saves. Otherwise,
I just think it's unluck. I
think it's just bad luck.
Because I've seen some really good goalkeepers, and this goes from, international play, World Cup, to every love. I mean, the year 2021, we saw Matt Turner not even make a save against NYCFC, and he was having a phenomenal year. And Sean Johnson was looking like Superman there. I mean, sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes, you just get on a hot streak. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that, we'll see him make a save or two this year on PK.
Well, it's like how John McCarthy looked phenomenal, of course, in the cup against us, making saves. It is what it is.
But that was always his thing, though, too.
He was strong there.
He was a PK.
And then some people are like, well, but Andre was so good against Nashville in the PKs in the playoffs.
That was 2021.
That was 2021. And let's be honest, some of their shots kind of sucked.
Yeah, I mean, Mukhtar did not have the greatest shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, realistically, I look at, like, you give up PK.
We didn't give up. We fought back, and to get that tying goal, in the added time there.
So yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, there was a great build-up play. We come down the side.
What a build-up!
And then the ball comes in, passes in. Here comes Kai coming across, gets the ball, nice pass, and just rockets it right in the back of net past Yarborough.
McGlynn and Julian, they were just such great passes. And
McGlynn had himself another game, which we're really gonna miss him.
We are gonna so miss him.
But I mean, again, credit there's why he's starting for Flocks.
It's good. Yeah,
so that was just good team playing there. Everybody was getting. Finally, we connected with one of our chances, and that was a quality chance outside the box, which,
oh my gosh, can we talk about what a banger that was by Kai?
That was.
And it was great to see him get it in a regular MLS game after he had the 2 goals against Minnesota.
Yeah, he's starting to get better. I thought his corners and crosses were better. So again, maybe he's just getting back into the groove. Maybe those 2 goals were a boost of confidence. And the Open Cup, we're not going to spend much time on the Open Cup. All I'm going to say on this real quick, and then we'll get back to the second half, was, say what you will about losing in the PKs. It sucked.
It sucked, especially, you're thinking, oh, here comes Kai. He's had such a night. And then,
yeah, but again, credit to the union. Yeah, and Todd asked this question to Jim, about being resilient. And that's one thing yes, we're grinding right now. We're not putting teams away like we did last year, but we are being resilient.
We came back down 2-0.
Yeah, in that game. So, you go into half, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, I thought it was a solid half. Yeah, was it like, oh my gosh, this is chef's kiss? No.
No, but I love that we tied it up before the half.
I did too. Give us a little bit of momentum. We come out second half. Just kind of second half, I felt it just started getting sloppy. I think, I don't know. I did not think we were I thought we were the more aggressive team than Colorado at times, but the second half just started getting to be like back. It reminded me a little bit of the Red Bull game.
Just back and forth, not getting shots. Although it was
kind of boring that second half.
The first half we had more shots than we did in the entire game at Red Bull.
So, I think the second half we came out. I thought we tightened up a little bit better defensively, although there was a couple times they had some big plays, especially that one there towards the end. But, again, nice ball. I think it was Jack started it. Bizo goes down the right side, crosses it. Nice ball right into Julian. Boom, puts it back in net.
Of course, I'm holding my breath thinking, oh, they're going to call it offsides.
That was when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, he's on.
Yeah, I thought he was on, but same time, how many times we've been called offsides, and
I know.
we already it had two called back, earlier in the
Right.
game. So we're like, and then it's like, yes, it counts. And then they did go check real quick and it was
Right.
called.
I
Yeah.
mean, I felt that there were times that second half where you could see Colorado was starting to, they're starting to make subs. I just felt like we were starting to play a little better. But again, we couldn't put the game away. I felt like at that point, the game should have really been like 3-1 us. And then you have that chance at the end, and Jimmy can comment on it. Nice ball, nice bill play over there. Donovan finally comes in because like Jim waited like what, 70th minute to make
Oh
subs.
no, it was almost like the 80th minute, I think.
And then he made like a whole bunch of subs coming in, which I was surprised it was more than two finally. So he started going to bench. Brings in Donovan. Donovan again, he scores his first goal in the Open Cup, comes in, has a great shot. Now, you can say he should have shot that and made that. Well, yeah, he should have. But at the same time, you also had Daniel. Daniel was just coming down unmarked. You hit a perfect cross, and Jim alluded, he hits a perfect cross. That God's dog's not missing that. That's 3-1 game over. But at the same time, you're a striker. You should be at least putting that ball, making that shot. I think either way, poor cross, should have shot it, but also I get why he did it. But either way, these are the things that we cannot do at this juncture in the season. And with these teams coming up, we gotta be able to finish. So, and then that led to that chance there at the end where that ball comes in. Barrios is crashing the back of that net, and I remember a whole bunch of us just like, ooh, like everybody was like, because there was two chances there.
Andre had some really nice saves in the game.
I mean, this is a game, again, going back to where Andre, you can say what you want about Kai. Obviously, he played a great game. Jack played a great game. But this is a game that Andre kept us in, and then we grind out points. This is a put your work cap on, grab your lunch pail, kind of grind out on the road 3-point victory. Okay, that's fine. But again, missed opportunities.
Yeah, we could have had more goals. I mean, that's for sure.
So, and then of course, let's talk about the I don't even want to know what you would call it.
Little kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle or ruckus, whatever you want to call it. There at the end. So that starts with there is that play. Was it Raw kind of runs into Blake? There was that chance where he runs in.
Right. Well, and Dre got kicked in the head, basically.
Yeah. The one time. And then everybody, yellow card, everybody starts getting a little chippy.
Yeah, and then he like two-handed pushed Blake, out of bounds.
I was talking about that. And then there was that other, I think it was like throw in. It just started
to get a little chippy at the end.
And then the play at the end, Blake kind of was hesitant and Barrios was running. I think Blake wanted to go out of bounds.
Right.
And so he's going out of bounds, but Barrios is running.
He just shoves him out of bounds. Like he just shoves him.
So the initial thing, it's a full, you can see it. Two hands, and he kind of pushes. And now you could say, and then he kind of just walks back, just kind of like nonchalantly.
Then Jack Elliott and Jacob Glessness.
Well, no, it was Elliott and Lowe came in.
Lowe, yeah.
Came in. And then Glessness came in. Then they start getting at it because immediately you just see them coming in, and that's when everything breaks. All heck breaks loose. But going back to the initial play, everybody's saying Barrios should have been, gotten more way one. I think it's gonna get reviewed. It's
gonna be interesting to see what happens.
Because I'm also wondering, are they gonna use the whole Andre had momentum and it was momentum and it looked worse than what it is. But when I was you and I on Sunday, we were like watched this like 15 times, and it definitely was. You could see that it wasn't like whoa, and then this momentum carried it. It was
that was a shove. That was a full-on shove
with momentum.
Yeah.
So I think that's right. But then everything went loose. I mean, players start getting at it. And And we're standing up there in press box. They're like, oh man, there's gonna be a bunch of cards. And this is coming while we're trying just to kill this game, get 3 points on the road,
I
and
mean,
get back up.
like right before that happened. First of all, right
It was
before all
like
that
a
happened,
minute, less than a minute.
it was like, yeah, I had my stopwatch going, for the extra time. And at that point, when when all that started going on, we didn't have much time left and we'd been like, come on, just blow the stinking whistle, blow the whistle. And that all starts going down. When all was said and done, we ended up having like 12 minutes of extra time at least.
It was ridiculous.
And gosh, Jesus Bueno had come in at the very end. He literally had just come in, and then he ends up getting red carded.
Which was a funny comment, was like, here comes Bueno comes in, Bueno comes out.
Yeah. So and I forget who said it, but so sorry, but I thought this was hilarious, and credit to like I said, I forget who said this, but that what they looked at VAR and just like, Jesus. And it's like, oh, so we'll get Bueno a red card. They're trying to figure out what wasn't it. But no, I mean, yeah, Jesus Bueno did kind of put the guy in a chokehold a bit. He had his arm around his neck. But
leading up to that, he
got his collar pulled on, and he definitely we all saw he got spit on.
I mean, and then he snapped. He got the guy in the horse car.
Yeah.
I mean, Glesnes took somebody down. I forget who it was. I mean, there was like, and Barrios was throwing punches.
Yeah, I don't understand how Barrios doesn't have a red card. If he doesn't come out of this with a red card,
and then the guy spit on Bueno, gets a red card. It's like, okay, and then of course I forget the guy's name. The ref is just running around, and the
first one sent off was what, Galvan?
Galvan.
Oh, and we gave him crap the whole way he was walking out.
It's really kind of the one at the beginning. What I found interesting was, so they're sorting this out, and I'm just sitting there. I go to like, I wonder how much is going to be added on this game. That's all I'm thinking.
I'm thinking, oh gosh, like how I hope we're not going to be missing a bunch of guys with red cards here.
Right.
What's going to happen with our team?
And so, and then Yarborough, their goalkeeper's up there, and like it's just like this whole thing. And then Jim's going outside of his area, which is an automatic red for Jim, and he's getting on their players, and then Allie's kind of, it was just like, it was really heated, and rightfully so. I mean, they started, and then they try instigating. It just got really, really into ruckus. But as Jim says, it's a soccer fight. No one's going to do anything, except I'm still saying, he's like, they're not really throwing punches. I don't know. Jim needs to go back and watch it, because I don't know. I think Barrios threw a punch, but
yeah, I think so too.
But I don't know. But then also, it just looks like his hands go up, so maybe he was, and he thought better of it. But
if Bueno's getting a red card, I think,
and that was the weirdest thing, because they're like selling out. All of a sudden, he goes to VAR, and it comes up on the screen, VAR check for violent conduct, and then they send him off. And then the weirdest part of this whole thing is like, okay, he's just marching, like sauntering off the field, and they blow the whistle. Like, it's not like, we're gonna have a play. Like, meanwhile,
Blake just ended it then.
Blake's just staying back there, just like, I keep watching Audrey. He's just like staying back there while everybody's kind of in the middle. And so it was just a weird game, and
it was just a really weird ending to.
And the ref just lost control. I mean, I just didn't feel like he had control. Once it started getting really chippy, he was carding everybody. And he started it was just like,
starting to get like Oprah there. You get a card, and just like, lost control.
So, I mean, we'll see if there's any additional. I would be shocked if there wasn't, but any additional sanctions or fines handed out, but we'll see. But at the end of the day, was it pretty? No. Did we get 3 points? Absolutely. We grinded it out. You can say what you want, all the cliches, but we got the job done on a game which, coming off Open Cup, flying back to Philly, which I was surprised they didn't do, but Jim says it takes 10 more days to acclimate, so it's better to fly in the night before, fly out, which in the sports science realm is true, but that's just a lot more travel.
That was a lot. They also left right after the game. They flew out
and then
around
they
like
back
midnight.
Because regen. Now they got the thing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I thought it was a good game. It was the kind of games we need to grind out and win if we want to be up there towards the top of the table. for me, being up there at the press box with Todd again, I just enjoy watching it. We met one of the Spanish reporters. He covers them, and he's trying to do a lot up there with the Hispanic community up there in Denver. And his name was Jose, and we got to talk to him. And it was funny. We were talking about the Leagues Cup a lot, and learned how to pronounce one of our opponents now, and not.
As we know, Kyle struggles with that a little
Yeah,
bit.
so I asked him that, and he just gave us a lot of foundations about a lot of history about Club Tijuana and Querétaro, I think it is how you pronounce it. Probably botched it again, but
Kyle didn't take Spanish class, so
what
I didn't either,
their supporters are like, what the cultures of the clubs are like. So he's like, yeah, you guys got an easy draw or something like that. But it was just interesting to see his perspective and how they're trying to grow the Hispanic, fan base out there. And it was just really cool. So, and so that was cool. The setup was interesting. When we got there, I thought of all the press boxes I've been in, which is all three, this one was cool because it was all the way down the stadium and you could stand there because the seats, this is funny thing, the seats you were like up to here. So you were like, you type like this because the seats were really low. But so we stood the whole time. And it was just cool because you could see the entire field. You're on top of it, which I
You were
prefer.
just over from where our supporter section
Yeah,
was.
so we kept looking down at you and Shelby.
I was joking. I'm like, oh, they're looking down at us peasants down here.
I made the joke to Todd. It was like, yeah, we're like the Muppet, the critics in the Muppet
Oh
Show.
yeah.
So, but no, it was fun as always to watch a game with Todd and
Yeah, and
just
Shelby and I
learn
had a great
more.
time.
And so what was the atmosphere like down there? I gotta ask, and
I think I know what's coming.
you know what's coming. Did anybody were you guys general admission?
Pretty much. Okay, so when we got there,
Because
a
we know
couple,
away
like
days
the
are
first 3 rows were kind of filled in, and most of the middle section was pretty empty, and there was a few people up top, and so first of all, I'm like, well, Shelby, you come down, you can sit with me because you can take Kyle's spot, and went down, and yeah, there was like the 2 spots really kind of because it was in the middle of the row that, and it was like bleacher seats.
right.
Okay, so it wasn't even like actual seats, individual seats. And there was nobody in the row right behind where my assigned seats were. So I was like, oh, we'll just go in here. And then a couple people did come down and said, oh, we have such and such seats. And it's like, oh, it's all good. We're just kind of filling in. And if you really want, I'll go back to my seats. They're like, no, it's all good. So no one seemed to really get upset about it, I guess. People just kind of filled in. Plus, to the right of us, there was a lot of empty space, a lot of seats. And then it seemed like we were near like the family friendly section, which if that's the case, that's a miss on their part. Why would you put
Didn't you guys get yelled at for chanting suck?
Oh, well, okay, no, it wasn't for saying sucks. They didn't really care about that. It was more like they didn't want people sticking up the finger. They're like, oh yeah, you can turn your back, you can say sucks, whatever. But yeah, no middle fingers in the air. This isn't Chester. That's what they said. They're like, this isn't Chester.
Oh, wow.
And so we're like, fine, we'll keep it PG. And so we did not do a lot of the colorful language that you would normally hear in our stadium. So we substituted dupe in for other words. So that is kind of how we went with that. I think probably the most risque thing we said was the Andre Blake chant. He's big, he's green. That one. So yeah, that was how it went there. Again, probably about half the people were standing, half the people were sitting. At the beginning of the second half, like everybody was sitting.
Yeah.
And I think some people are just a little chilly or whatever. And of course, people, you need to know that you're going to stay warmer if you're standing up. We actually did try to, at one point, get Jump for Philadelphia going. And to some success, at least with a few of us there. We're just having a good time and trying to get people involved. But what was disappointing to me was even when we had a corner, one of the easiest chants we can do is the one we do on our set pieces, on our corners.
Yeah,
And
I
there's
was
still people
looking.
not joining in on that. I mean, that's one that people all around our stadium, not just the
I looked down
supporters
twice
do.
and I saw just people sitting there with their hands. And so I was
And it's
like,
like, okay, I mean, again, you can do what you want, people, but at least join in on that one.
no,
I was like, come on.
from our vantage point, looking down at you guys, I thought the energy was good. So credit,
Yeah, we
shout out
tried.
to all the Sons of Ben out there that were there at the game. You guys, you brought it. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll say you
You
brought
could
it.
hear us on the broadcast
You
a bit,
could,
like
and
when we score, you could hear the dupe chant.
I just feel like, when we have these away supporter days, I get it. There's people that don't sit in the river and that go, and that's fine. But again, we saw it with, from my vantage point, there Red Bulls, all those people you were bringing in, all those people from the section over where you were to like stand and chant, and maybe not everybody was, but again, like some symbols as the Union chant, which we do every single game. I mean, that's the easiest one. It just, I'm like, come on, guys, like.
But like Union,
I mean, and again,
Union. Hey,
everybody,
and
everybody's different.
yeah,
Maybe they're from out of town.
that's okay. I was hoping some people would catch on to it.
Right.
And Shelby and we were like, like trying to, we weren't like saying people, hey, people get up or anything like that. No, we were just trying to lead by example.
Right.
And hey, either way, we had a blast. We were trying to bring some energy. So we had fun. But all in all, it was really just good to see a nice turnout from our supporters. There was definitely more people there than I thought there was going to be. And I think what helped too was the fact that the Phillies were in town too.
I think that did too. So that's it. With our game review, let's talk about the trip. So, 2.5 days out there in Colorado. Flew in Friday, got there. We had planned this.
Got there about what, lunchtime?
Yeah, we had planned this with Todd and Shelby, and we got there like around lunchtime, and we checked in, and you and I went straight downtown. Took an Uber, went down to the stadium area, and it was really cool. Again, if you haven't been to Coors Field, it's right in the heart of downtown, right near Union Station. Beautiful. Just they really have revitalized the old but they've kept a lot of the history in the building facades, and they've repurposed them. They've turned them into bars.
But yeah, it's right there, surrounded by the city streets, and there's bars all around and things to do. So you can really walk around and do stuff pre-game. And we went and checked out some places. We went in a rooftop bar, and it was loaded with Phillies fans. There were Philly fans everywhere. And I have heard that for all different teams, I mean, there's a lot of transplants in Denver, and that there's a lot of visiting team fans, especially on the third base side and everything, that that would be expected. But I didn't realize how many Phillies fans were actually around the Denver area. I was told that there's a lot of people in Denver that like the Phillies. And then of course we always have a good traveling group. So it was really fun to do that. And of course people are like, yeah, go Phils. And we even saw, when we went in the stadium, we saw someone with the new Union kit.
Yeah, we saw some.
So we're like, hey, we're talking to him, and then we saw him at the game. So shout out. And we had a great time getting food and drink before the game. We go over into the stadium then, and
which brings up a fun question. Thank you to Jimmy King for this question. Jimmy wants to know, what is your thought on Rocky Mountain oysters? Well, let's go back. So I always check the ballpark food out,
same,
and before we go to the stadium to see what the thing. Well, they had Rocky Mountain oysters. Now we all know what Rocky Mountain oysters are, and if you don't,
bull testicles.
Yes. So
I'm a foods teacher, so
me being the adventurous type, of course, and also previously having them, Jimmy, to answer your question, I actually do enjoy them. I'm not going to go seek them out.
But you did there because I went down like, oh hey, I want to go watch batting practice. I got to watch BP
And
because
I
the
did.
Phillies.
I went
And the
right
next
in.
thing I know is Kyle comes down with Rocky Mountain oysters. He made a beeline for that. Let's not beat around the bush. He
So,
made a beeline
I
for it.
mean, it. Here's the thing with Rocky Mountain oysters. Why do I like them? I also like beef tongue, and especially tacos. I mean, when we were out in LA, you were there. They were closing up shop. They gave us like double our order. I just like the taste of it, and it's very similar. Only it's breaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had it before. We had a place locally here that used to sell it, and they had a lot of different things like gator, crawfish, a lot of Cajun stuff. Um, it's so I would equate it to that. The taste is, there really isn't much of a taste.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's breaded and deep fried.
and were these the best Rocky Mountain oysters I've
Were the
ever had?
ones at Prud'hom's better? Or
Oh, absolutely. Even the
those
ones
at
that
Cajun?
we used to growing up, they used to make them occasionally, I think, on my dad's side of the family. So I've had them growing up. If
Kyle's family's
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't put any food to
they
waste.
yeah.
So, if you've heard about something, I've probably had it.
He'll
Uh,
eat anything, although but you then you complain about if I make like cauliflower or something.
it's
Yeah, you'll eat, bull testicles. And
but
by the way, for the record, I did not eat them. I was like, no, I draw the line at that. I don't really like organs.
so yeah,
No.
to answer your question, Jimmy, yeah, I've had them. I mean, they're fine. Again, I'm not going to go seek them out. They're on the menu, and depending on how they're, well, maybe I'll try them. But if you haven't tried them, you can get away.
If you're adventurous.
And you're adventurous and you can get around what they really are, they're fine. I mean, they're good. I mean, personally, yeah. So
Yeah, so he had those while I was watching BP and
you
being like, what is this lineup? And I was in my feels about the fact that Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh weren't in the lineup, but yeah, I was watching BP, and then shout out to Caleb Tucker, who was the guy that we saw
yeah.
at both the Union game and the baseball game. So that was cool. And then we actually sat up in the 300 level, but like the first row and on the third base side. So that wasn't bad. And there's really good views. And a cool thing about Coors Field is up in the upper deck there, they have a row of purple seats, which is at the mile high mark.
That's a really
So
cool
that
feature.
was pretty cool. And it's really a party atmosphere up there on the upper decks. They have the
The
rock pile and they
lounges.
have all these bars. And so we did quite a bit of walking around beforehand and wanted to get some food,
Took some
get some
pictures.
got
I
some
mean, it's
pictures.
a nice atmosphere. I mean, I thought overall there were more Phillies fans than there were Rockies fans.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I said to Kyle? I said, hey, guess what? They're here, they're there, they're every freaking where. Empty
MTC.
seats.
Yeah, we kept chanting that. But it was, I thought that was good. I mean, the only issue I had, and we ran into this, was like there were
They were
places
out of
that had
food.
food, and the game hadn't even
Yeah, I
started.
went to get a brat over at Biker Gyms, and I'm like next in line, and then I hear the lady say that they're out of the brats. I was like, I just waited in this line to
So I
find
had to
out they're
walk
out of it.
around and get
He
it.
took one for the team. He's like, oh well, I don't care as much about the game as you do, because
Wasn't
I mean it's not that, but
I like watching
you
baseball,
do.
but
But
I
like
know
I'm a
you
Phillies
were,
fan and you're not. So you're like, I'll go get the food. And we'd also you're gonna get another beer because we got given the wrong beer.
but
But so he all said and done, he didn't come down to our seats till the fifth inning because I don't know if you guys watched that game, but it was a fast game.
so
And it only lasted 2 hours and 15 minutes. It was the fifth inning by the time he came down. But in fairness, he missed all the boring parts of the game.
yeah,
We didn't do anything really till he got down there. So, I mean, Taiwan Walker actually pitched well, and Gomer from the Rockies pitched really well. And then we finally get a hit, and JT gets basically what should be a double, tries to stretch into a triple, gets out at third, and jams his finger. Thankfully, he's okay. But it was a very fast game until then finally Alec Boehm hits a homer, and then we had a Schwer bomb, which
yeah.
I prophesized. I was like, oh, we could use a Schwer bomb right now, and then boom. And then Bryce, of course. Oh, so good to see Bryce in. So that was exciting. But yeah, every time the Phillies did stuff, it was loud with the Phillies fans. And it was like being at a home game, and it was awesome. And we're walking around, I'm like, I'm having so much fun here. This was great, to see another stadium, check another one off the list. We're gonna get to check another one off in a couple weeks when we go to Citi Field for the NYC game. But it was a good game. Phillies came off with a win.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we left and we checked out more of downtown area. The thing I really like about the downtown, and I saw this at like LA, is they're repurposing all these old buildings and they turn them into these food halls. Like we went to that one that had like bars, food marketplaces. There was tons of them around there. I know they're cropping up. I'm a huge fan of those because there's just a lot of variety. And so we went there, and then we ended up at an old building that had been turned into a brewery. You got to get beer called, what was it?
Fuzzy Little Headbutts.
Which was all cat themed. So she was happy. Had phenomenal dessert. Had some good beer. So
it had some real good stuff and had some dessert. Yeah, had some dessert with it. So
it was a nice cap to a fun first day. And then the next day we got up and we headed down to Colorado Springs to meet up with my old coaching mentor and good friend. And somebody's been in my life probably since 2000, since I started coaching.
you know him longer than you know me. That's
for
sure.
So went down, visit him, his wife. He used to work for USA Swimming. He's retired, but he's still out there. And so we drove down there.
We got to drive all around, and
I thought, what were your impressions about Colorado Springs? More importantly, went to Garden of the Gods, which is a beautiful, beautiful, just
all the rock formations.
They have the red rock. They also have, just types of pillars.
They have trails and all that kind of stuff.
So we got walked around a little bit. It was really crowded though because it was a Saturday.
Yeah. So, but we drove around and we were driving up, going towards Pikes Peak. We couldn't even see all of it because it was really, there were clouds. But we did drive up to where there was snow on the ground. We saw some deer and there was snow on the ground, and yeah, it was quite cool. But we had a nice lunch and we got to drive around Colorado Springs and see the Olympic Training Center and USA Swimming headquarters.
The Colorado Springs Switchbacks, the USL team stadium, brand new stadium there for Switchbacks. And, Colorado Springs is a cool little town. I'd like to go back sometime and check out and hang out there more because the downtown area looks like it has a lot to offer. But yeah, Pikes Peak area, I was there when I was real little. So it was cool to kind of finally go back now that I'm older and just see it again and see what it's for.
That was our cat.
And I like that area as we got up higher in the elevation. It was very, rich and green because they had rain recently. But it reminded me a lot of Vegas, except as you said, it's green. Yeah. A lot of rock formation. So overall, that was cool. And then we headed back and we decided to head to the stadium. And we'd been talking with Todd, and he told us about the wildlife preserve. So the Rocky Mountain Arsenal Preserve, and it's right. That area is like right next to the stadium, basically. So we said, okay, we're gonna go early. We're gonna go do that. And then we got there a little bit after 4, and they have a driving tour. So they have a podcast you can play that explains everything as you're going around. And unfortunately, because they'd had a lot of rain, some of the parts were closed off. So we were not able to do the whole loop of the driving. So we had to turn around. Then we went kind of the other way a bit. And then we went up on that. And we went up to Rattlesnake Hill. And it's really cool because you get to see the entire city of Denver and great views. Just the whole surrounding area. We're the only ones up there and just great views. And we saw lots of deer and we saw bison. There was lots of birds. So, you can check her social media page because she posts silly _Jilly. And of course, the one team we agree on, you can find me through there too. But yeah, there was a lot. It was really cool. And that was a nice way to set the tone for the evening there with that game. So, and then afterwards, you and I, after we left there, we went to another food marketplace and just kind of relaxed. And then yesterday we got up and we met up with Todd and Shelby and we went up. They were heading up to Boulder, so we met them up there. We got to tour Boulder, Colorado, and then it's a lot different right up along the mountains there. So we saw
University of Colorado Boulder.
Beautiful campus.
The architecture's neat. They have a lot of nice stone masonry there.
And it was dead because they just had graduation. So
right. So it was pretty easy to go around. And the weather was really iffy. It was kind of cloudy. It was spritzing a little bit, a little foggy. So but even so, the views were really nice. And again, I have all this stuff on my social media if you want to see. But of course, I was like, oh, I really want to go walking around the Pearl Street Mall where they have shopping. That was a place that was recommended. Yeah. And if you've ever been to, say, like Burlington, Vermont, it really felt like that. But it's one of those streets that's, pedestrians only, and they have shops all along it. I love those kind of things. I mean, we walked through that something like that in Santa Monica after the Cup too. So I don't. I think that's the kind of thing that I'd like to see more of in Philly too, which would be cool. But definitely some cool shops, got some souvenirs. And then we met up with Todd and Shelby at Chautauqua Mountain. I think they have trails. And so, we went hiking.
We saw some great views of Boulder.
Awesome views.
Like as we got up, it was interesting because you're getting up there. It's all like it was raining a little bit, and we got down and you could see the sun shining on Boulder.
It was cold. It was kind of chilly and raining at times and wet.
We had a great time though.
It was a good workout. We were kind of huffing and puffing.
The elevation
going up a bit, but then got used to it, and it kind of got a little less steep. And we got to see some great views. We were in the woods. We crossing streams and getting a little muddy and seeing deer down the ways, and
it was overall
spectacular views. It was worth it. Definitely check it out if you go out there.
Yeah, like Boulder has some and then they had the Flatirons, which we didn't see. So like there's I know Todd
went up there.
I'm sure he'll review it on his podcast. So check out the Free Kick because he'll definitely review it. And I really, if we go back there again, I want to go back to there, and do a little bit more because that was beautiful.
And I'd love to do some hiking around Garden of the Gods. There's some nice looking trails there, and there's a lot to do. And honestly, as I was saying, I was like, I really liked Colorado. It's
a great place.
It's a great place to visit.
I mean, and then afterwards, we head back and
found more breweries.
I mean, and we had
some flights.
My favorite too, which was the first one?
Oh, Spice Trade. That was so good. They had chai, stout. They had all these different things. They had some good food.
The other one was Peak
View.
Yeah, I like that.
That was really good too. They had some really good stuff, and they had some good pizza. And these places were not far from our hotel, so that was convenient.
Those are probably my two favorite places.
Yeah, they were great.
But there were some other good ones that we had tried it the first day at the ballpark. So some good beer. So if you're a craft beer lover, definitely there's some good spots there.
They have a lot of good spots for sure. So definitely, if that's your thing, definitely recommend.
So and then we just kind of that evening got back. We hung out with Todd for a little bit and just chatted, and it was good. Hey, we had a blast with him and Shelby. It was good to just kind of go out there with some friends.
Yeah, the only downside of the trip was when we were at Spice Trade at the brewing company. They had the Sixers game on. We're not going to talk about.
We're not going to talk about that game. Although shout out, I think it was Orton. He posted that one meme after the game, which was the meme, if you ever seen it, which was the astronaut looking kind of, I think it's towards Earth, but it had all like the Phillies, 76ers, Eagles, and Flyers logo, and says like, that's suffering. This is what suffering is, or something like that. And then it's like the Union logo with gun pointed his back going, it's always been. So I had a chuckle with that. But yeah, that was the tweet of the day for me. So yeah, that's our trip review. And
and then we just got home today, and man, it was an early morning.
And it's gonna be
and then we get there and TSA is nuts. If anyone's flying out of Denver anytime soon, good luck. Thankfully the line moved, but when we saw what it was like, oh my goodness.
So Union got 2 games this week.
Yes.
And it's going to be a fun time. I mean, DC and then New England, 2 tough matches. Jim talked about in his presser. Shout out to Todd and I being the only 2 at the said presser. Which was awesome because we got to ask questions, and we were trying to keep asking questions, but I mean, but it was cool just to sit there after the presser and just chat with Jim real quick. And gives fist bumps. But
oh, and by the way, need to mention this too.
oh yes.
So while you were at the presser, Shelby and I hung out for a little bit, and we went down to by the field, and Alejandro Bedoya came over, and so did Joe Bendick. He appeared to know somebody there, but yeah, Ali came over, and a bunch of us fans, we were down there, and he walked down the line and was greeting us and high-fiving, shaking hands, and he was grateful that we made the trip, and he was conversing with us a little bit, and respect.
That was
That was
cool.
very cool. And yeah. And then I saw Julian getting interviewed, and I'm like, yeah. It's like, yeah, Julian. And he smiled and waved, and I was like, yay. I was the only one down there at that point because I was waiting for this guy. So, but yeah, I thought that was really cool, Valerie. I mean, he's a good captain, and
so yeah,
love
I
it.
mean, I think when we look at the next games, we got Jim had said minimum 10 points over, starting with Toronto, ending with New England. We're already at 9. So, at least if we can come away with 3 points in one of the 2 games, that's awesome. Obviously, you'd love to get points in both games, but they're set in a good situation. I think for us this week, I'll be a couple things I'm curious on is how we're going to rotate. Obviously, if we can get Jose and Mikel back, that's going to be huge, especially with not having Bueno on Wednesday. None of the U20s. I mean, at least Quinn and Jack. That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Especially losing Gwyn. And then, I just think these are 2 good opportunities. I think DC, I think New England's definitely going to be the tougher of the 2, obviously, but I think if we can get some points here, well, I'm looking forward to some good crowds, hopefully,
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if you're going to either games, especially on Saturday, make sure you check out Sons Bend tailgate again. We always plug it.
Yep.
They got just blacktop their tailgate
Yeah,
areas.
They just paved it.
So that'll be exciting.
So it was kind of dusty and muddy.
So I'm interested to check that out. But, for me, I think especially I want to see them because these are 2 decent. I mean, definitely New England's, one of the teams top of the table.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. That's going to be big if we can come away with 3 points. If we can
start finishing our chances, I think, or at least getting shots on target, finishing our chances, just getting a little bit more in sync. I'm going to be excited for that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Good.
Yeah, I feel like we've been trending in the right direction a bit.
We have. I mean, it's still kind of some bumps in the road, but we're getting there. So I think if we can come away with 2 points, but I was looking ahead, this week, then we're at New York City next week, and then we have 2 home games with Montreal. There's a lot of potential to make a little run here.
For sure. We got to seize that.
So if you can grab hold, we can get right back towards the top of the table, and then head into June. I think that they're going to find themselves in a good spot. And I just think if we get healthy, if with Jose and them and Mikel, but I am curious to see what the rotations are going to be like. I mean, let's be honest.
Do you see any Perea is my question.
I don't know. I don't know what he needs to do.
What is going on there?
Same with Torres. I mean, what we got to do to get him. But if you're going on Saturday, definitely check out the Sons of Ben tailgate again.
Yeah, we have an unofficial tailgate on Wednesday, if you remember, but we'll be at both. So
come by. But yeah, I'm excited to see this good opportunity here. But for them, I mean, they just come back from Colorado, and I got a double this weekend.
Yep.
So my question is, I know we're all bummed that we got knocked out of the CCL. I mean, but when you think about it, 2 semifinals in 3 years, that's pretty awesome.
Let's just focus on the MLS now.
We get knocked out, but we saw it. I think it was Kevin Kincaid and a whole bunch of other people. But the USL, yes, we all want to win and get that ghost because the
CCL.
No, I'm talking about the Open Cup.
Oh yeah, the Open. Yeah.
Everybody was bummed we got knocked out in the first round again. Yeah, it is. It's a shame.
I think it's the it was the hope that killed us, right?
And it was also
because came back and almost won. Then that's why I think why it was worse.
And I think that's kind of especially for those who've been there since day one. It's kind of the cup that they've had opportunities in the past and couldn't cash in. So it's kind of. I think Billy said it right. It's like the ghost they're chasing. So I get that. I totally get that.
We'll win everything we can.
But I think when I look at it long term, I think with all that busy schedule, and Jim even kind of touched on it, that they can now settle down. They can be with their families a little bit more, maybe not as much
Yeah.
traveling. Although June they're going to the West Coast, in July they're going to be out there for LA and San Jose. They can kind of settle down now and kind of just focus on I think that's a good thing. So be interested to see how they do that. But definitely hope to see you guys out there, and 2 exciting matches coming up. And
Yeah.
2 last topics. And this is kind of a fun little Jillian mini fashion spot. I don't know if you guys, what's the show? It's 2 girls
MLS Fashion Goals.
They touched on something Jillian had brought up, and you might have seen it on Fanatics, the underwear.
Yeah, so they had posed the question about who has, what's some of the worst merch by Fanatics and everything for the stores. And they had posted the Nashville boxers or whatever that are pretty awful. They got lightning and stuff on them, and they're pretty awful. And then I posted the Union ones because they are god awful. I mean,
and shout out to me, who initially, when you sent that to me, I was like, ooh, but now that somebody who I believe is an LA,
it was an LAFC fan, and I thought it was hilarious.
Actually had interacted on our podcast,
they said the back of it looked like a maxi. The line was placed on it like it was a maxi pad on the butt.
And now I cannot
unsee that either, and it's awful. And
it is bad.
Oh, so bad.
If you haven't checked it out, go check it out.
I'm gonna have to get you this for your birthday, Kyle. Birthday's next month, so I think our anniversary present. Our anniversary's next month too.
That'd be the worst present.
Could you imagine?
I don't even want to. So yeah, definitely check it out. You'll have a good chuckle. The other funny one was the Theo Almada t-shirt they were talking
about.
Oh
yeah.
So you guys got to check that one out. Go on.
It's
I don't want to promote that team, but
it's worth looking. Just a
so it was some World Cup thing, but the way it's done, it looks like a shirt that's a memorial shirt that you would see, like,
because there's like light shining out from his face. It looks like a memorial, like
it's odd. Like, whoever came up with that one, I have questions.
Yeah, so shout out to MLS Fashion Goals, to those girls, because their podcast is entertaining.
It is.
And I appreciate that stuff. So
and then the Union released their warm-up kit for
just released today for the Pride top. So
lots of discussion about this already. Where are you with it? So if you haven't checked it out,
so
I thought the last 2 years were much more creative. This year
I really liked last year's, especially.
I thought this year they were okay, we're gonna go with more of a white. Okay, that's fine. But I just feel like it leaves a lot to be desired. Everybody's gonna have their own choice on this.
Yeah.
It's not awful. And I think it was Jimmy that said best. He wants to see it in person. That's kind of how I read it. But
so initial thought, I'm like, okay, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's okay. I think I would also like to see in person. It's not like last year. When I saw last year's, I was like, ooh, I like that. My initial thought last year was like, I want that one. Yeah. And then I ended up not getting it. I ended up getting the Unity top, which is my lucky jersey now, and I wear that. And of course, I wore that at Denver too, by the way. You're welcome. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to see it in person, I guess.
I don't know. For me,
we're here. It's getting kind of mixed reviews from people. Some people really love it. Some people are like, no way. Some people are just like, I would say a lot of people are just like, eh.
I'm kind of meh. I like the sleeves.
I like the sleeves. I do.
But that's about all I like about it. So I'll be curious, but
it's kind of weird with the beam bow on the back. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Beam bows on the back.
Yeah, it's a different design. So curious to see what it is, but yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. So anyway, that's all the time we have. That was a long show. But we covered a lot. So thank you all for listening. And again, if you're following us Spotify or any podcast or on YouTube, leave a comment. We'd love to know what you think about the jersey. What's your favorite away trip? That's another question. What is your favorite away trip, and what are you most looking forward to these next couple games with the Union?
Let us know if you're going to NYC away trip. We're going. So we're just driving up though.
So all right. So that's all for today's show. And we'll talk to you next time. So for the for the One Team We Agree
It's
On.
been a long day.
It's been a long day. So
Yeah.
for the One Team Agree On, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
And we'll see you next time.